Good afternoon. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm standing in for the chairman today. He's absent, and I'm sure it's an excused absence. I noticed we also have Ms. Dwyer's absent and Heather's absent too. So I'll call the meeting to order, and do we have a roll call, please?
Heather. Marita.
Here.
Chris. Jim.
Here.
John.
Here.
Sally. Philip.
Here. Thank you. The next up on the agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded, and I'd like to note that Heather O'Neill has showed up. So we have five out here today. Okay, the agenda's been accepted. And is there any questions or about the agenda?
Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, it's approved.
Oh, Mr. Chairman. Hi.
Yes.
I wanted to request that you add 2 more items to the consent calendar on your agenda that were distributed to the commission. One of them is an application for a conditional use permit for a home-based business from Stephen and Danielle Akins. And the other one is a conditional use permit for municipal utility in a single-family district submitted by Carl Hagerman. And this would just be for scheduling for the next meeting. So this is not any action item. It just, you can add it to the consent calendar and just do it all as one.
Do we need a
Motion.
motion to do that?
I think you need to amend the agenda to include,
Okay.
yeah.
Would somebody like to amend the
Okay.
agenda?
So I'd like to amend that and add these 2 items to the consent calendar that she just mentioned. That's the application from Carl Hagerman and the other one from Stephen and Danielle Akins to be on our next meeting.
I second if it needs a second.
Motion and a second. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we'll schedule it for the next meeting in the consent agenda. Okay, what's next is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I motion that we approve the minutes to the last meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the last meeting's minutes? Any changes? Okay, seeing none, last meeting's minutes are approved. And we have public comments at this time. Item number 5 on the agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? And twice, there's no takers on that one. So with that, we'll move to the item number 6, consent calendar. And this is a final plat approval for application from John and Miriam Swanson for major subdivision and vacation of a portion of Ramona Street right away at 1320 Nordic Drive. And I believe there's a motion can be found on page 10.
All right, I move to approve the Swanson subdivision along with the findings of fact and conditions of approval as presented. I would like to just make one point of clarification. On page 6, there was a typo on the number 3 findings. It was under section B. It says it's just mistyped. It should be Ramona Street, not Raman Street.
Or second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item?
We already went through this before. This is just the final.
Yeah, that's what I understand. It's been done and approved. Is there? So we'll do a roll call vote.
Marita.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
John. Philip.
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Yeah, the motion's approved. And with that, we go on to,
If you could just make a motion to accept and schedule the 2 applications that were added for the next meeting. That
I
would
move
be
that we
fabulous.
add to the consent calendar for the previous next meeting, the 2 items that were given to us. That's the home-based business request from Stephen and Daniel Atkins and the conditional use permit from Carl Hagerman for the borough.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. So is there any discussion on this? So this will be moved to the next meeting on the consent agenda.
It'll be a public hearing at the next meeting. It'll be a public hearing.
Item.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
public hearing, okay. I stand corrected. With that, we have non-agenda items. Is there any commissioners' comments?
We preliminarily talked about that. There was some of us that talked about training, needing some training. And I said I was going to bring it up because during COVID, some of us got to participate in an online thing with the Alaska state. That was pretty cool, but I thought I would let Liz tell us about maybe some opportunities so some of us can learn a little bit more about what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. I did talk to Liz about it yesterday a little bit, and she had some ideas. Maybe she can share them with us. It's have some canned stuff that we could watch, YouTube type things.
Right. Unfortunately, the Planning Association, the Alaska chapter of the American Planning Association is the one that put on that training last time. And they don't plan to hold it again this winter. They usually have a meeting every year. I think it's in February. And they're apparently not doing it this year. But I do have a couple of videos from the American Planning Association. They're a little bit older. They're only 30 minutes, so it's not a huge time commitment, but we could do something where if we have a light agenda, I could just add it at your discretion to the end of a meeting, and it would just be a 30-minute. One of them is about how a meeting should run, and another one is about making legally defensible decisions. And then I think there's a third one that some commissioners saw a few years ago, which was about staff reports, though probably more interesting for me than for you on what makes a good staff report. But if you're interested, I could certainly, schedule it for the February meeting at the end. And if you want to go for it, we can, and we can always postpone to another time if the meeting runs long. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Could we do that for the
Sure,
February meeting?
absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, further staff comments? Seeing,
We have agenda items for February, these 2 conditional use permits plus, I think 2 minor subdivisions. So we will have a meeting.
thank you. The next meeting is February 13th. Is it possible to change it to the 14th? I'm supposed to be traveling on the 13th. Would that be a big issue?
No, we can do that.
Oh, the
Yeah,
14th.
as long as we have
Valentine's Day.
enough
isn't it?
notice. It's Valentine's Day. Yeah.
I'd show you love by coming.
What's that?
I'd show you love by coming.
Okay,
You have to bring the chocolate and then I think we're good. Yeah.
I'll bring candy.
Okay. Okay. So the 14th at noon.
Yes, thank you very
Okay.
much. Appreciate it. And the next item on the agenda is number 9. Is anybody? A motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's adopted and we're adjourned in adjournment at 12:10.